All right, so a lot of you guys have been asking me to show you guys how to actually code a real strategy that you can use using Python and then being able to backtest it on the backtester that I've built. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to be doing exactly that. We'll be downloading some candles, then we will go ahead and code the strategy here. And then when we're done with that, we'll be able to print it out using Plotly, and we'll be able to show you each and every single one of the entries. Then we'll take that, turn it over into into a Python file and a class as well. And then once we're done with that, we'll take that information, put it into the backtester that I've built, and test a couple of settings here and there, get the results, and then we'll be able to see exactly each and every single trade that has happened, and the entries, the exits, the take profits, the stop losses, all that fun stuff. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into what strategy are we going to be building here. Well, all we're going to really be doing is a very simple look back and see if we are breaking out strategy from the high. So here, if we just zoom in, what we're going to do is we're going to build the bot to say, hey, check the past X amount of candles, and if the close of the current candle is higher than all of the other highs, then we're breaking out. And we're going to just continue to do that over and over and over again. And it's going to also dynamically change here because we're going to be looking at the volatility. And by that, I mean, we're going to be able to take the standard deviation of the closes and the previous closes and add that information to how far back we should be looking at all of the different highs. And so it's not just going to be, hey, every 20 candles look back, every 30 candles look back. It's going to dynamically change based off of how volatile we are getting. Then once we've established that, the fact that it'll dynamically look back, then we will take it over to our backtester and give it a trailing stop loss. So that way, when we break out, we want to be able to maximize the amount of money that we can possibly make. And so that's why this will be very important, because you can actually test different trailing stop loss percentages and also when you should actually start your trailing stop loss. So when we're done with that, then you'll be able to see all of the different trades and all of the different entries and exits and all of that stuff. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the very first thing that you will need to do, which is you'll have to go down below, go to the all my links, and then go to the GitHub right here. And then you'll be taken over to this page, and you'll need to pip install Quant Freedom. Now, that is my backtesting platform that I'm going to be using in order to create the strategy and backtest it. So you will 100% need to have this installed. Then, after you've done that, you will need to import NumPy as NP and import Pandas as PD. And from there, we'll go ahead and get started. I forgot to mention that when you're done with the strategy, my backtester will actually allow you to place the trades like you can see here. We have Mufex, which we just placed a trade. We have Apex, we have Binance. If I run this, you'll be able to see over here that we have placed a trade, and also the same thing for Bybit and some other exchanges as well. So basically, when you're done, you'll be able to go from creating a strategy to backtesting a strategy, finding the settings that you want, and then actually running the strategy live with my backtester. So it's an all-in-one platform. And let's go ahead and get started. So this very first part, what we are going to need to do is create a new Jupyter notebook file, or you could just work within Python, but it's going to be a little bit harder if you're just going to work in Python. I like to work in Jupyter first, then move to Python. But once you do that, you'll have to import NumPy as NP, import Plotly .graph objects as go, and then from quantfreedom.enums import candle body type, and then from quantfreedom.help funcs import dl_ex candles, and then comma candles to df. Now all of this is under the assumption that you have some basic skills with Python. And so if you run into any problems, like you don't know how to pip install to a virtual environment or any of these other things, you're running into issues, any types of issues that come up, you have to go down below, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then join the Discord or Telegram community. I prefer Discord, and ask me any questions that you guys have there. Okay. That's going to be the best. Leaving comments on YouTube is going to be a nightmare. So it's best you join those communities because you could get help from me or from possibly somebody else. Okay, so under the assumption that you guys have pip installed everything and Quant Freedom is pip installed, then what we're going to do is we're going to do candles equals DLEX candles. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select the exchange to be Binance US. It has to be exactly like that. Then we're going to do symbol equals BTC USDT. It has to be all capital. Then time frame is going to be equal to 1 hour. And then our since date milliseconds is going to be 1626768. Then 0000000. So 6 zeros. Then our until date is going to be 1634745. Then we're going to do 00000. Okay. And then that's going to say it's not defined because we didn't run this the first time. So we have to get everything loaded. Now we run this and we should be able to have our candles here. And so now in order to check that, we're going to just do candles to DF and put our candles in there. And this is basically turning our NumPy array into a pandas data frame. And it shows you that we have our timestamp, our open, our high, our low, our close, and our volume. So everything with the candles is looking like it's good to go. Okay, so the next part is, like I said, we're going to be doing the building of the actual breakout first part here. So first we have to get our we have to set basically our initial variables here, okay? So our initial variables, I'm just going to call it volatility LB. So this is volatility look back. And I have a little bit of a spelling error there. So we have volatility look back. It's going to equal 30. So we have to have an initial volatility look back setting. And then this is going to be our max high look back equals 20. And so the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a max high NumPy array, an empty NumPy array. So we're going to say max high right here equals np.full like, and we're going to say close np.net. So now you might be like, well, we don't have anything called close. Well, that is true. So now what we need to do is we need to come up here and do close equals candles. We need to do, oh yeah, so for the import, we have this candle body type, right? So you have candle body type dot close. So what this is going to do is, I'll show you guys what these candles look like. So the candles looks like this. This is your timestamp, open, high, low, close, volume, and this is in a NumPy, two-dimensional NumPy array. So this candle body type dot close is basically just an int, which is 4. And so if we do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all we're doing is grabbing the fourth column here. So it's just an easier way. Instead of saying 4, the way I have this set up, we're just using dot close, which lets me know, hey, we're grabbing the close column of the candles, and it's just a lot easier to do it that way instead of just typing 4. Okay, and so I accidentally deleted that. So we have that, and now we have this. So we have our max high set. We've got our volatility. We've got our max high look back. We need to make another. We need to make our current volatility. So current volatility with a V, not a C. Well, current volatility equals np.std, standard deviation, close. We're going to go 0 to volatility look back. Okay. And so what that's doing is basically we're storing the standard deviation of close 0 all the way up to basically 29, because as you know with NumPy arrays, or you should know with NumPy arrays, whatever this number is right here, you have to subtract 1 from it, and that's what it's going to return. So this is 30, so we're going to go 0 through 29, which is basically 30, right? Because 1 through 30 is 30, 0 through 29 is 30, and so that's what we are going to be returning here. So our current volatility, if we run this, it's going to be this number right here. Our standard deviation, I should say, is 697 point blah 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 blah. Okay, and so that's important for our next step. So we're going to just run that. So we have all of these things. And again, we're going to take this and eventually turn it into a Python file using classes and stuff like that. So we can run it in our backtest. So the next thing I like to do here is I'm going to just do vol look back LBM1. So this is basically volatility look back minus 1 equals volatility look back minus 1. And so the reason why we need to do that is because we're going to create a for loop now. So for I in range, we're going to say max volatility look back, max high low look back. We're going to get the maximum of that, and we're going to do close dot size. So the reason why we are doing the maximum of either one of these is because, as you guys can see over here, we're going to be testing, if you wanted to, in your strategy. Well, I guess I should just look over here. In your strategy, you're going to be able to test different levels of volatility look back and different levels of max high look back. Okay, and so if you have your initial settings is we're going to start off at 50, well, that's exactly where we need to start out, because we don't need to start at 20 because we're going to get there. You know, our volatility look back is actually 50. So wherever the highest number is, we need to start there and then have our look back, because here, if we started at 20, we wouldn't be able to get any information from volatility look back because it starts at 50. So we'd have to start at 50. And then vice versa. If our max look back was 50 and our volatility look back was 20, then we'd still have to start at 50 for the max look back. Because again, we can't get a true value for an entry without starting at 50. Hopefully I explained that well enough so that way it's not super confusing, but you guys should hopefully understand. And again, this is where if you have any questions, you go down below and ask them in the Discord. So what do we need to do here? We need to get our previous volatility is our current volatility. And we're going to do our current volatility equals np.std. They need to change that from std. Close I minus volatility look back minus 1 to I plus 1. Okay, so what are we doing here? We have to set our previous volatility to our current volatility. Then our current volatility, we need to update that to grab the standard deviation of the close, and this is going to be I minus this. So let's just say that we started out at 30, which is what we would start out at. This would be 30 minus 29, which would give us 1, and then this would be 30 plus 1, which would give us 31. So again, it would be 1 colon 31, which would give us 1 through the columns 1 through 30. Okay, and so we're always going to be grabbing 30 because that's what our volatility look back is. We're going to be grabbing 30 columns here, and so we're going to get the standard deviation of that. Then what we need is the delta volatility equals current volatility minus previous volatility divided by current volatility. And so that's going to be our delta. That's going to be our change in the volatility. And then we're going to do real max high look back equals max high look back times 1 plus the delta volatility. So this is how we are constantly going to be dynamically changing how much we actually look back to see, you know, is it going to be 20 highs do we look back? Is it going to be 19 highs? Is it going to be 30 highs that we look back? Is it going to be, you know, that's where this dynamicness is going to be changing. And so here we're going to do max high. And also watch to the very end. We'll give a shout out to the person of where I found this strategy. And so max high I is going to be high. And then we're going to say max I minus int real max high volatility look back. I mean real max high look back. And then we're going to say or 0. And then we're going to put here as I. Then we're going to say dot max. Why in the world do I have this? Oh, okay. I did not mean to put that like this, and like this. And so again, you might be thinking, hey, we don't have a high. Well, let's go ahead and duplicate this up here, create high, and over here we're going to say this is high, and we're going to run that. And so now we do have our high. And so what is this doing? Later on we have to basically say where our close value is greater than or equal to our max high, then we're going to put close for our entry prices, or else it's going to be not a number. And so that's why we're doing this. Okay, so what is happening here? Well, this real max high look back is actually going to end up being a float. And so when you are putting information into the NumPy array, like this, let's say close 0 and up to like 49, you do not want to have, you can't have like point this. You can't have that. So you have to turn it into an int. The first number has to be an int, the second number has to be an int. All of the numbers have to be an int, actually. And so that's what we're doing here. We're turning this into an int. We're subtracting it from I, and we're saying if this number right here is basically less than 0, then just set it as 0. Else, put this as I. Okay? And so one of the things that I also learned by actually turning it into in the Python and like actually testing it is that we need to also have this try except, because it's possible that this thing gets to be like too big or something like that, or it comes out kind of crazy. And so we're gonna have to wrap this in a try, and we're gonna say except, and we're gonna say max high I equals high I. So this is basically saying if for some reason this number is bigger than the current I, or it becomes, well, it's not going to be negative, but if for some reason this number right here is bigger than this, you can't have like give me rows 380 all the way up to 4. That's impossible. It has to be, this has to be smaller than this number. So when you run into that problem, then it's going to throw you an error. And so we're basically going to say, well, the volatility is so crazy or so low or whatever it is that we're just going to take the max high is going to be the current high that we're at. Okay. And so the next thing that we will need to do after that is, all right, next step is, so I guess we could just run that and then that'll be fine. I think we should be able to see that we have a max high. We have a bunch of NaN values because again, we have to start at 30. So we're going to have 29 NaN values here, which is not a number. And also what else do we have? I guess that's all we have for our arrays. And so now what we need to do is we need to store our entry prices. So our entry prices equals np.where. Then we're going to say close is greater than or equal to max high, and we're going to say close np.name. Okay, and so we do not have this close. Okay, there we go. So actually, let's just do this. So this is basically going to show us where this is true. If where this is true, then you're going to put the close because that's going to be our entry price. And then where this is false, we're going to put an np.nan because there's going to be no entry price. There's going to be no entry price there, okay? And so this thing is way too big in order to see actually results. So let's see if I did like 50, what it would see. So yeah, you can see here, we have a bunch of nans and nans, 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 and then here we have some situations where the close is greater than the max high. And so here would be an entry, here would be an entry, here would be an entry, and then we wouldn't have any more entries and stuff like that. And so again, that's how you get the situation to where when you're looking at the whatever this is called, the plot, you'll see that not every single candle has a entry point because that's just not how it works. Okay, so we've basically built that. So let's go ahead and say entry prices equals this. So now we have our entry prices. So the next step that we need to do is we can go ahead and start to build out this plotting here. So that way we can just make sure that it's looking like it should be doing the correct thing. Okay, and so we're going to move on to the plotting now. So for the plotting, first thing that we need to do is do fig equals go.figure And again, this is why you have to pip install plotly.graphobjects as go. And so this go.figure, then we're going to need some data, and that's going to be a list. And then inside of that, we're going to have go.candlestick, and that needs to be a capital C. And then inside of here, we're going to have x equals pd dot, to date. Oh, God. All right, well, we got to come up here. Import pandas as PD. Okay, so we got to run that. So we've imported pandas as PD because we need that. PD dot to date time. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say candles. Well, let's do this. Timestamps. Timestamp equals candles. Let's say candle body type dot timestamp. Okay, so now we have all our timestamps in here, which is basically these right here. Okay, so we are going to do timestamp. Then we're going to say, that's actually it. That's all we're going to say. Unit equals milliseconds. Okay, and we messed. Go. So now we're going to have our open. Oh boy, I guess I should have done the whole entire thing. So I guess we have to come up here and do that. Let's see here. Open equals candles. Actually, let's just duplicate this. And then we're going to say open equals this. So open, that's not how you spell open. And then we're going to have our high, and we're going to have our low. And our close and our timestamp. Okay, so we have a timestamp, open, high, low, close, and so we've stored all these. And this is open, high, low, close. Okay. So this is open. It's gonna be high. It's gonna be high. Low is gonna be low. Close is gonna be close. And we will name this equals. So we should be able to do this fig.update layout. And we're going to say height is going to equal 800 and x axis underscore range slider underscore visible equals false. And so we're going to do fig.show. Okay, so that is looking like it is working properly, so that's good. So now we have to add the little points that tell us where we actually have whatever entered. So we're going to do go.scatter. We're going to say x equals pd.to date time. And we're going to say, okay, timestamp. And then this is the part where we're going to say this tilde thing, which basically means not. I'm going to say np.isNan entry prices. So what this is going to do right here is going to return us where it is not Nan. It's going to say false. So this first one is Nan. So if I do this, you're going to see this is Nan, 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 and then Nan, Nan, Nan. So this is going to say false, 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 and then false, false, false. Okay? So we're saying where it is not Nan, return true. So this is false, 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 because these are Nan. And so what that is going to do is if we do timestamp this and this, that's going to basically say wherever it is not Nan, return me the timestamp of the places where it is true that entry prices is not Nan. Okay? And so, since these entry prices and timestamp have the same exact length of their array, this works out perfectly, perfectly, perfectly. Okay? And so that's what we're doing here. And so we're saying give me all of the timestamps where entry price is not nan, and then we're going to say our unit is going to be milliseconds. Then we're going to say our Y value equals entry prices. Then we're going to do the same thing. Is not nan. Okay, so our entry prices is not nan. And then we're going to say name equals entries. And then our mode is going to equal marker. And then our marker is going to be a dict, which is color equals yellow. Okay, and so this should now show you the fact that we have our markers for our entry. And so you can see here, boom, 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 boom. And so some of you guys might notice this is a little bit different than the way this is set up, and that's because I have some formatting going on in this section over here, but that's fine. But anyways, all right, so we verified that this works. We're getting our entries and stuff like that. So one of the other things that I wanted to explain here is you might be wondering, why do we do +1 here, but we wanted to do just not +1 here? And that's because we do not want to include the current high in our assessment of the previous highs. Why do we not want to do that? Well, if we look here, if this is our entry, then it would always be impossible that our close is greater than our high if we included this candle in our assessment. What we want to do is grab all of the candles previous to the current candle that we are assessing. And so therefore, that is why we do not put the +1 here, because we do not want to include that high inside of our, what I just said, basically. Okay, and so now what you might be asking, what is the next step? Well, the next step is going to be to take all that information and to turn it into a class like this. And we're going to take that class because we need to be able to do that. And we're going to, in order for us to actually backtest it, because that's the way my backtester works. And we'll be able to turn this into a class. We'll take everything that we've done. You can, if you wanted to, you could also make a short part of this, but I'm not going to go over that. Shorting would be basically you take, instead of, well, I guess you would take the close, and you would, instead of high, you'd say low, and you'd say min, and all this other stuff. But I'll let you guys figure that out, so that way you guys can test what you've learned. But anyways, we're going to take that. We're going to put this into a format that my backtester can understand. And then we're going to put it all in here, and then we'll go ahead and end up backtesting it. So let's go ahead and start with the building of the Python file now. I highly suggest using my backtester because I have now started working on creating all of these are TradingView indicators. Everything works exactly like TradingView. You guys can even check out my YouTube channel and see that I have everything based off of TradingView, so that way when you're coming up with your strategies on TradingView, you can know that you're getting the exact same functions as TradingView. So I'm basically turning PineScript into Python. Every other backtest out there doesn't do that. They use ta-lib or pandas TA. Not that those are bad, but they're not TradingView, and they don't give out the exact same number. So you could actually be creating a strategy based off of TradingView, then using some other indicator creator, and it just is completely off because of the numbers that TradingView returns is completely different than whatever it is. So you guys, I highly suggest using this backtester because of that specific reason. Okay, so for transferring everything over into a Python file, you'll need to have imported all of the following here. And so we have import OS, import numpy as NP, import pandas as PD, import plotly.graphObjects as go. Well, I'll just let you pause this here. So you would need all of this. This stuff here is just my own thing to make the graph look better than the default graph that Plotly has. So you don't necessarily need this, but you do need the following of these things here. And then you also need this logger.getLogger. So you need logger equals get logger and then info. And this is how we're going to be able to build our log files. Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to need to do here is we're going to have to create a class, and it's going to be called indicator settings arrays. Okay, so So we're going to say class indicator settings arrays, and it's going to be a named, and we're going to have our volatility LB. That's going to be an np.array. And then our next one is going to be max high LB. That's going to be np.array. Okay. And so the very next thing is we're going to have to create another class. It's going to be simple breakout dynamic look back. And then it's going to have to take a strategy. So what we're doing here is we're basically saying that this class is going to be a named tuple. And then this class right here is going to be a class made up of strategy. And so strategy is basically just this information right here, which is necessary in order for my backtester to understand what in the world is going on here. Okay, so first thing that we'll need is we're going to need starting bar is going to be an int. Next thing, we're going to have to create the initialization of the class. Now, if you don't know anything about classes or any of that other stuff, I would highly suggest going to learn just a little bit about it. But I think through doing some of these videos that I'm going to be doing, you should start to get a little bit of a slight understanding of how classes work. So here we're going to do def, and we're going to do init, and we do not need this super. So the thing that we'll need here is put a comma there, and we'll say volatility look back, and that's going to be np.array, and then we're going to have max this right here, and this is going to be an np. And we are going to say logger debug created strategy class. Okay, so that's just basically going to tell our debugger that, hey, we've done this. So self.long in short equals long short. So the long short is going to basically say, hey, do you want to go long or do you want to go short? And next thing that we'll do is we now have to create a Cartesian product of the indicator settings array, because we're going to be able to send like multiple, we're going to send like, let's say that we said 10, 20, 30 for this, and then we sent 40, 50 for this. Well, that means that we're going to do 10, 30, 10, or 10, 40, 10, 50, 20, 40, 20, 50, 30, 40, 30, 50. And that's what basically a Cartesian product is going to do. Okay, and so I've already created that. So we're going to say cart arrays equals cart product. And then we're going to say named tuple is indicator settings array. And then here we're going to say volatility look back is going to be our volatility look back. And our max high look back is going to be our max high look back. Okay. And so again, I'm going to be explaining how this works in a little bit later on once we do it. But you just have to understand that it basically is going to look like this, where we have our np.array. And like I said, you can send like 30, 50, and then 20, 30, whatever it is that you want to do. It'll take that information, put it into this, and then the cart product is going to come over here and run it through this program, and it basically does the Cartesian product for you. And then it'll spit it out in the array. And okay, so the very next thing that we will need to do with this is we're gonna have to do this self.indicator settings arrays. It's gonna be indicator settings array indicator settings arrays. So we're just, this is called typing. So this right here and this is called typing. So we're telling the program, we're telling Python that, hey, this thing right here, this volatility lookback variable is an np.array. And so here we're basically saying this a variable right here is going to be a indicator settings array class, which is basically just a numpy array. So we're going to say indicator settings array volatility lookback. Going to be cart arrays dot t, which is basically transform, and then we're going to say 0. I'm going to say dot as type np.int, like that. So actually, by doing this, I realized that in my code, I changed up some stuff. So we don't actually have to do .t, and we don't have to do .t here. So I just changed it up. So instead of transforming every single time, I basically am returning it transformed. Okay, so our transposed. And so here we're going to have to do this, and then our next thing is going to be max. I look back is going to be cart arrays 1, and then we're going to do dot as type. Whoops. We're just going to copy this right here. As type. We're going to put a comma here so that way it doesn't get mad at us. And so it's very, very, very important that the indicator settings array has volatility. Well, actually, let's do it like this so that way it's in alphabetical order. And here we'll do this, and then here we will do this. And so now this has to be 0. This has to be 1. And the reason why that is important is because when we're sending this over, it just goes in order of the variables that you have here. So this would be 0, this would be 1. If you had more, it'd be like 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. And so that's where this 0, 1 comes into play, okay? And so now what we have done here is we've created the Cartesian product, and we're storing it inside of that, okay? And so now we have to move on to the next part, which is if long short equals long, and we will do it like this, and we'll say we're going to do self.set entries and exit arrays. It's going to equal self.long set entries exits. All right. Okay, then the next one is going to be self.log indicator settings. How does this know about these? Oh, that's because I have that stuff over here. Okay, and so I'm going to be explaining this. We're going to be creating these functions in just a minute. So log indicator settings, and then here self.entry message equals self.long entry message. Okay, and so what you would do here is if or else, because if it's not long, it's short. But as long as you type it correctly, we'll just do elif long short equals short. Then here we'll pass. Then we'll say else arrays exception. We'll say you need to put either long or short lowercase. Okay. So again, this is where you would do the same thing here, except you would create, you're going to create your set entry exits as short, short, and then short here. So that way, if you wanted to do shorting, but that'll be up to you. So what do we need to do here? Well, we first need to create this function right here. So let's go ahead and define this function. We're going to say self, because you have to send the self. So this, oh, wait a minute. We have to get outside of this. There we go. So we have to get outside of the self. So self basically allows us to refer back to anything that we've created inside of here. Okay. And so we're going to need to send some of that information into this function here. So I'm going to say self, then we're going to get the candles np.array, and then we're going to say end setting index. So this is going to be our indicator setting index. It's going to be int, and here we will do this, and we're going to say try, and then this is where we basically take our code that we created earlier and put it inside of here. So let's see if I can do this correctly the very first time. I highly doubt it. So the first thing that we'll need to do is get our close and our high. We'll get our close and our high. So we'll copy this, put that here, delete this. So we need our close and our high. Then after with that, we need our volatility information here. So let's grab that, put that there. And we need to put self dot, say self dot volatility, and then we're going to say self.indicator settings array dot volatility, and then we're going to say indicator setting index. Copy that, put this here, and do this. And so what this is going to do is, let's say that we have like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 indexes or something like that. So this is going to basically say, give me index 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whichever one we are on when it comes to the volatility volatility look back, and then it's the same exact thing for the max high look back. Okay, so we're going to grab whichever one that setting is. So again, like I said, if we have something, I wonder if I can, let me try something. Okay, so what I've done is I took this sample breakout dynamic look back, which is what we're working on. And I basically went here, it's from test.currentvid, import simple, you know, basically what we're working on. So then I saved it, I created it, and I told you earlier, like I said, we'll have volatility look back, np.array, it's going to be 10 and 20, and then this right here is going to be 30. And so I ran it as long, and then here, if I do strategy.indicator settings array, you'll see here that we have this, let me see here real quick. All right, this is a little bit better here. So here where we have this indicator settings array that we just created, and like I said, this is basically, it has a variable max high look back, and like I said, we did 30, 10, 10, 30, 10, or 20, 30, and so you can see here, we have it set like this. And so if I were to take this, like we've done, like we did over here, right? This is indicator settings array dot volatility indicator setting index. So let's say that we're on index 0, which would be 0, 0. If I did this dot volatility look back and I did 0, it would return 10. And if I did 1, it would return 20. Okay, and so that's basically what we're doing here, because when we're eventually going to go through the for loops of testing each and every single possible setting, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have an indicator setting, and we're going to start at 1, and we're going to go to 2, or we're going to start at 0, then go to 1 and 2 and 3, and however many we have. Because like I said, if I put this here and I do 40, and I do this, and then I do this, you'll see we have 10, 30, 20, 30, then we have 10, 40, 20, 40. So you can see that. So now we have a total of 4. All right. So now let's get back to this over here. So what does that mean that we have to do? Well, we have this over here. Let's see. We'll scroll up. We'll scroll up. And so we need to create these right here. So we'll grab that. Put these over here. Tab that over, self dot, and then this is going to be self dot. So everything is looking like it should be working nice and sexy now. And so the next thing we'll do is we're going to grab this whole entire thing like this, and we will move this over like so, and we'll just do self dot. I'm just going to copy self dot. Self dot here, self dot here, self dot here, self dot here, self dot here. And so we have all of this looking like it's pretty sexy still. And so now what do we have to do? We still have to get our entries. So we'll grab that. This is going to be self dot, and then this is going to be self dot max high in P. And then now what we're going to do is we need true and false values for this. So these are going to be our entry prices, but we need our true and false values in order to actually run in my backtester. The backtester literally just checks for true and false. So now here what we have to do is do self.entries strat equals np.where np.isnan self.entry prices. We're going to say false, true. So what's happening here? This is basically saying where entry prices is nan, because earlier we did not is not nan, but now we're doing is nan. So where entry prices is nan, put false. Where it is not nan, put true. Okay, and so that's what we have right here. So I just realized all we have to do is just do this. We'll say where it is not nan, and it'll return false, 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 and then where I mean, this is basically the same exact thing. It's saying is not nan, is nan not. So this would be true, so then it's going to be false. So all we're doing is switching it over. So if we do this, this is nan. So we don't want that. We just want the opposite of that. And that's going to give us our entries and exits. So basically, actually, all we have to do is this. We don't need this where. Just do like this. And we do self dot. So self dot entry prices. And then we need our exits. And in this situation, we're not giving our exits away. We're not creating exits, but we have to put this. So exits strat equals np.full like. And we're going to say self.entries strats np.nan. So all we're doing is just basically filling the exits with nan values. Okay? And then for our accept, what we're going to do is we're going to say logger.info. And we're going to say, put an F here. We're going to say exception long right here. And we're just going to put the function. We're going to say E. And this is going to be exception as E. Okay. And I think we also need to duplicate this and raise exception. Okay. And so this would, if we run into any problems here, this is going to raise an exception and actually stop the program. Okay, and then the rest of this for the long log indicator settings, what we're gonna do is basically just do this. So I think we did like this, this. I guess we need this indicator setting index is gonna be int. And volatility look back. All right. And so here what we're basically doing is just going to be logging because what will happen is when we run through my backtester, we will be calling for the log indicator settings. And so let's see here. So if we look at this, you'll see here we'll call strategy.log indicator settings, and we'll send it the index. And so what that's going to do is inside of our log file, it'll let us know exactly what our indicator settings are. And if you haven't seen so far, the log file looks like this, where it just basically tells you exactly of everything. So you see here, long indicator settings index, bam, and it'll tell us exactly that. And so I just realized that there is an R for some reason right here. So it'll tell us exactly what our settings are. For our indicator setting index 0, it tells us exactly this right here. And then for our dynamic order settings and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's why we're doing that. And then our entry message, we need to also create that. And so in order to create that, what do we need to do? Well, we first need to bring back up the other screen. Okay, so you guys can put whatever you want here, but for the long log indicator settings function, again, you have to have self indicator settings index, and then here you have logger.info, indicator settings index. You guys could just copy this self.max high look back, volatility look back. Then for the long entry message, which again, that has to do with the log, then what we want to do is you can basically just copy this as you see it if you'd like, or you can give it whatever you want. And so let me see if I can find this really quickly. So yeah, we'll have entry time, close is higher than high, and then we're putting the entry price, self.entry price, bar index is greater than self.max high is the bar index. And so that's going to return us and tell us exactly what is going on. So you can see over here, in the logs when I was doing this RSI. I said entry time RSI equals this. RSI is below is 60, so you could see clearly that this RSI, the current RSI is below this right here, and so that's what that's going to show up. And so we should have everything good to go here. And yeah, it looks like it should work. So let's go ahead and try to test this thing out. Okay, so for this part, what we are doing is now we've already created this. Like I said, you're going to have to go to your folder or wherever you have saved this at. And, from wherever you've done this at, import simple breakout dynamic look back. And then I have, once you have done that, then you want to run it like this. Then you want to create the variable, so you have the class, then you send it the information it asks for, which is long, short, max, high look back, and volatility look back. And these have to be np.arrays right here. And so we run that, so now we have our strategy. And then the very next thing that we need to do is now we have to download the candles. And so for me, I have downloaded the candles using Mufex. It's my preferred decentralized exchange. So you can see here, if you go to all my links, you'll be able to see here. I have a link to the DEX. I've got a DEX right here, and I've got Bybit and Binance and different things like that as well, if you guys need access to that. But you guys can use whichever one that you want. But anyways, for me, I have my Mufex main, so I have to import all that. And so I've imported it here. I'll explain to you guys exactly. You guys don't have to worry about this part just yet, okay? You guys could use the DLXL candles if you would like, okay? You can download from Binance, Bybit, Mufex, Apex, whichever exchange that we have available here. You guys can just download the candles from there, or you could even use these candles right here, okay? So it's up to you at this point. So for me, I'll explain to you guys why I'm doing it like this. So here we have this Mufex main. So the next thing that we need to do is get the candles. And so for me, my candles are going to be candles Mufex main.get candles. And this is getting the candles from the Mufex exchange. I'm saying Bitcoin 5 minute. I'm using these specific time frames. So if you want to use the exact time frames as me, that's up to you. But I'm using 1697328, then 000, and then 000, and then the until date is 1698 1056, and then 00, and then 000. Okay, so those are my candles. Okay, so the next thing that I have to do here is we have to set the exchange settings. And so for me, I'm doing this. I've got to do this right here, and then this right here. Again, I'm going to explain what this is. So what this does is if we do this, pretty QF. Oh boy, that's not going to work. I think this should work. Is it going to print it out? Oh, okay. I see what I need to do. So, pretty QF. We're going to do main Mufex main.exchange settings. There we go. Okay. So what we have to do here is set the exchange settings. So the exchange settings for Mufex is, for me, it's the limit fee %, max leverage, market fee %, MMR %, minimum leverage, max asset size, tick step, position mode, leverage mode, all of these different things, right? And so for you, if you don't want to do all that, you could just do exchange. Let's see here. This right here. So you would have to create an exchange settings. So you want to, from quantfreedom.enums, import exchange settings, okay? And then from there, you would have to fill out each one of these things here. And so the limit fee % is how much they charge for a limit fee. The max leverage is what their max leverage is. Market fee % is how much the % is for the market fee. MMR percent, you'd have to look that up for the exchange that you want to use, or you could just use 0.05, or you could just literally copy what I have here. This is 0.004. The minimum leverage, for me, it's 1. You'd have to fill out all of these. Max asset size, min asset size, asset tick step. I'm using Bitcoin, so that's why it's like this. The asset tick step is 3. Position mode is 3. Leverage mode is 3 as 1. Price tick step is 1, and leverage tick step. So asset tick step is, you can see here, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you guys can fill all that stuff out if you would like, but you have to do that. And if you have to do it by yourself, then well, you're just gonna have to do it by yourself. Okay, so we're under the assumption that if you've done it by yourself, what you can do is just do exchange settings equals, and then fill it all out. Like I said, you could do limit fee percent equals blah 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 blah, and so on and so on and so on. Okay. All right. So the next step in the backtesting process is we have to set the backtesting settings. So backtesting settings equals backtest. Oh my God. All right. You know what we're going to do? You see this quantfreedom.enums here? We're just going to put a star. So that way we just import everything, because this is getting pretty damn annoying. All right. So here we want backtest settings. And then here we just need to create it. Okay. So this backtesting settings would allow you to create your array size and your gains percentage filters and your total trade filter and different things like that. Okay. And so if you're going to be testing a whole bunch of different settings here that could take you forever, possibly, then you'd want to make sure that you set some things. So it's like, who cares? I don't want to see anything that has a negative result. Like, I don't care about anything that didn't make me any money. I only want things that made me money. And so you could set those things here. Okay. So we're going to do that. Backtesting settings. So we're just going to use the default. Then we're going to have our dynamic order settings arrays equals dynamic order settings arrays. Okay. So here we have to fill this whole entire thing out. And that's going to be our max equity risk. This is where we are starting to create our strategy. So what's our max equity risk, our maximum trades, our risk percent. So let's just go one by one here. So I'm going to just copy this. Okay, so what is going on here? We have our max equity risk percent. I'm saying as we are trading, I want the maximum amount that I want to be in a risking is going to be 6% of my equity. Okay. Our max trades is 5. This doesn't really matter because we're not going to be doing max trades. We're doing a risk percent of account. So I'm saying here, my risk account percent size is going to be how much of my account do I want to risk per trade? I'm saying 3. So if we do the math, if my max equity risk is 6 and my risk account percent size is going to be 3, then that means I can get into a total of 2 trades. I can get filled on 2 trades, and then after that, it's going to stop me, okay? And again, you guys can play around with this. It has to be in this has to be in multiples of whatever you put here. Here we can say our risk to reward is 6, or we can do 10. So this is where you can put like multiples. You can put however many you want here, but just remember, the bigger it gets, the longer it's going to take using it this way. I have a Nitro Booster way of doing it where I was able to test, you can see here, 12,000 different possible combinations over about 30 million candles. And it took me 3 minutes to do this, where if you just did this with regular Python code, which is what we've done here, that would take you 60 trillion years. So if you guys are interested in using that, then again, that's for our pro members, but it costs you nothing to get the pro version. If you guys want to learn how to use that, you just have to follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then message me on Discord or Telegram letting me know, hey, I want that Nitro Booster. I want to learn how to use that Nitro Booster. And then, we'll test your Python skills, because again, the Nitro Booster thing, It's so annoying because the debugging process, it's just a nightmare. But it's worth it because you can actually get through a lot of a lot of tests very, very, very fast. Very fast compared to Python. It's literally 100 times faster than regular Python code. Okay, so well, our risk to reward and then our stop loss based on ad percent. So we are going to be, well, I should probably actually have created something else here first. Let's go here. So our stop loss based on ad percent. So we're going to be doing a stop loss based on the low. And so you can see here, stop loss based on candle body type is going to be, I want you to put our stop loss at the low of the candle. Okay. And then we're going to say, I want you to, in order to find the low, I want to look back 20 candles and you give me the lowest low out of all those candles, and we'll put our stop loss there. And then what's going to happen is once you get to that point, I want you to add 0.1% to wherever that stop loss is. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Then this section right here is saying stop loss to break even. I'm saying we don't want that. And then so I'm putting a 0 here. And then here we're doing a trailing stop loss. So we're saying I want you to trail the stop loss based on so BCB is based on candle body. So that's going to say, I want you to trail the stop loss based on the candle body low. And we're going to say, trail the stop loss when our average entry is 1% or greater from the low of the candle, of the current candle, from the low of the current candle, okay? So once our average entry is more than 1% from the current candle low, then start to move our stop loss. And we're going to trail our stop loss by 1%. Okay, so an example of that would be if our stop loss was, let's say our stop loss was here. And then we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. Let's just say that this candle right here is 1% away. And our average entry is like somewhere like right here. So our average entry is here. We are 1% or higher away from our average entry right here at this candle. So now what we will do is we'll end up moving this stop loss to like 1% below. And then it's going to be 1% below. And then it's going to stay here because it's not 1%. It's not 1%. From here to here is not 1%. And then we're going to move up. And then let's say it gets to here, then it would move its stop loss. And it's always going to stay 1% below, 1% below, 1% below, 1% below. And then eventually we'd end up getting stopped out here. Okay. So that's the way that works right there. So let's go ahead and run that. So these are all our dynamic order settings array. And it's dynamic because it's always going to be changing in the for loop. And so here, we need to create our static order settings. And so we're going to be increasing our position type. So you need to basically do this static underscore order settings, or OS equals static order settings like this. Okay. Oh boy, this is completely out of order, but whatever. So the first thing that we need to do is set our increase position type. So how are we going to be increasing our position? Like I said earlier, we're going to be doing it risk percent account entry size. So you need to do increase position type dot risk percent account entry size. Okay. The next thing, we need to set our leverage type. How do we want our leverage? I like my leverage to be dynamic because I want my leverage to be right below my stop loss. So that way I can use the maximum amount of leverage, which keeps the amount of money that I can use on other assets and stuff like that as high as possible. Okay. And so we're going to put that. So it's going to be leverage strategy type equals leverage strategy type dot dynamic. Then since we're dealing with the low of the candles, we need this PG min max stop loss BCB equal to min. Okay, so what that's going to do is basically give us the minimum value of the look back. So we said 20 right here, and we're saying the candle low. And so we need this thing to get the minimum of all 20 candles that we've looked back on. So we need to put min there. The stop loss strategy, and so we're going to have here stop loss strategy type is SL based on candle body. So we're saying put your strat. I want my stop loss based on the candle body. Then we're saying here stop loss to break even. We don't want to move our stop loss to break even. You could if you want to. Then the starting bar is going to be, let's just say 100 here. Okay. Then our starting equity is going to be 1,000. I'm just putting 1,000. Our static leverage is going to be none. We're using a dynamic leverage. And then our take profit fee type is going to be limit. So we're going to be getting out at a limit. Okay. Limit orders. And our take profit strategy type is going to be risk to reward. So take profit strategy type dot risk reward. And then trail stop loss bool is going to be true because we're going to be trailing our stop loss. And this zero or entry type is going to be none because we're not moving our stop loss to break even. Okay, so we'll run that. And so now we should have everything set. Again, this is if you guys have any questions, if you're running any problems, if you need to rewind it, go ahead. But if you have any problems, again, this is where you follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then join the Telegram or Discord, and you come in there and you ask me questions, or you can go to the GitHub and create an issue right here. But again, please just ask the question in GitHub, Discord or Telegram. I prefer Discord. So now that we have all of that, we need to actually run the backtest here. Okay, so we've got our, let's get this. Okay, let's get rid of this for me. Let's get rid of this. So we have our candles that I'm downloading. We've got our order settings. We've got our backtest settings. We've got our static order settings. We've got our dynamic order settings. All right, next thing we need to do is we need to run DF backtest. So we need to do from quantfreedom.simulate import run DF backtest. So this means run data frame backtest. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and put that up here. And I'll reload that. Reload the ting. All right. So what do we have to send here? All right, so we have to send the backtest settings. This is backtest settings. The next thing that we have to send is candles equals candles. Then we have to send DOS arrays is DOS arrays. So that's our dynamic order settings array. Then our exchange settings. Exchange settings equals effects main.exchange settings. So these are going to be our exchange settings. Then we have our logger bool is going to be false. I don't want to log anything right now. I don't need, the logging takes a little bit longer. We'll do the logging on the next thing. Then static order settings is static order settings. And our next one here is going to be our strategy equals strategy. I really hope to God this thing actually works. So let's run this. And you can see here it says, oh, okay. It says here that we have a total of total indicator settings to test is going to be 4. Our order settings to test is going to be 2. So that gives us the combined total settings of 8. We have to test 8 total settings. We have 2,592 candles, which means if we do 8 times this number, we're going to be testing over 20,000 candles. And you guys can see it did that in 2.3 seconds. And so here, our dynamic order settings index, and we have our indicator settings index. And so you can see here, we're able to see our total trades, our wins, our losses, our gains percentage, our win rates, our QF score, which is very, very, very important. Well, I'll show you what that means. We have our fees paid, our total P&L, and our ending. So, wow, this one has 900. Oh, but then we had some moves to the downside here. This dynamic order settings 1 is where we had a take a risk to reward of 10. So yeah, that's why we had such sexy gains there. And so now the next thing that we need to do is run the backtest on the order settings. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to grab this. And so we have to import that. Okay, so we want to come up to here, put a comma. So from quantfreedom.simulate, import run df backtest, and then here we want to say comma order or backtest. So the difference between those two is the run df backtest is just going to return a data frame of all of the settings that you have, and that's it. We're not going to return any of the order results. We're not going to return any of that stuff because that takes up so much memory. Okay, so what we need to do is run this. And so in order to get that information, what we need to do is run this. And what we can do here is we literally just copy this entire thing, put that here. And the extra thing that we want to do is we want to do true for the log. So I'll show you guys what the log is going to be. Then we're going to say DOS index. So our dynamic order settings index, which one do we want? Let's just, I guess we could just do this. So we're going to say 1, right? Because our DOS index was 1. And then our indicator settings was 0. So we did this. And now we want to plot results to be true. So that way we can get the results going. So let's run this. And now you can see here, we have each and every single trade exactly what, look at this. Look at this. that take profit is so gigantic for the 10-to-1 risk reward. That's insane because we entered, what happened here? Yeah, we entered at the very, very top of this, and then our stop loss was at the low, which was down here. So that's gigantic, and it's 10-to-1 of this. So my God, that's insane. All right, so that's a thing. And so you can see here, we lost a little bit here, and boom, we took some profit here that really bumped us. I mean, we made, good Lord, $500. Jesus Christ. And here we lost some. We made a little bit, and we kept making some, and boom, boom, bam. All right, so now let's say that I wanted to say, okay, I want the one with the best QF score, which is this right here. And so that means that we have 0 and 2. So we want to do this as 0, this as 2. Now let's run that, and we'll have that. And so you can see here, since we're dealing with a 4-to-1 risk to reward or something like that, then you can see the risk to rewards aren't as insane. And so now we have this information. And so we also have a different indicator setting index. So 2 would be, let's see here, 2 would be 20 and 30 for our volatility and our look back. So you can see here how it can generate some different settings. And then on top of that, we can see every single trade, how everything played out, when the interest was filled, when the stop loss was filled. You can see the P&Ls, you can see everything here, what our take profit percentage was, what our take profit price was, all of these different things, okay? And so what do we have to do after that? So like I said, I mean, there you go. We've tested all of it. And so the very next thing, like I showed you earlier, is if you wanted to, you could actually go ahead and take this strategy. We do have a live mode here for you. And once you guys have tested a whole bunch of stuff, and you say, hey, I want to run this actual strategy, you can go over and run the live mode that we have here. This is ready to go on the different exchanges that we have available. And so you guys can work that. But again, if you have any questions, follow on Twitter. Join the Discord, join the Telegram, follow on YouTube. And again, here you can grab some of the DEXs. I prefer the decentralized exchange, the Apex, and then I have Bybit and Binance, and I have a VPN here as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We just went through the entire process of creating a strategy. Then we back tested the strategy, and then now you were able to find whichever settings that you like the most, and then you can run with that and just go live with it. If you guys want to go live or you need help with any strategies, I'm offering some free lessons for those who qualify, or you could pay me to build your strategy for you, back test it, and get it running live and stuff like that. And so again, in order to do all of that, follow the Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, let me know you've done both of those, and then join the Discord and Telegram community, or either one of those or both, and talk to me there. Again, I prefer Discord. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video, and I'll catch you on the next one.